I remember when it all began. How fresh and unsuspecting life felt back then. I was 22 years old at the time, living in my modest two-bedroom apartment, attending a friend's wedding reception. They had strategically seated me beside a woman named Kelly, who was 1 year younger than me. That was where my life took a turn I never could have predicted. "Hi," she said, extending her hand with a shy smile. "I'm Kelly." I introduced myself, leaning in so she could hear me over the celebratory music. "I'm Mark. I think our friends are trying to set us up," she laughed. "No kidding. I'm close to the bride, and she told me, 'You're definitely going to hit it off with this guy. Just wait and see.'" From the moment we exchanged words, it was like we had known each other our entire lives. We shared tastes in music, both liked hiking, both had a ridiculous love for mint chocolate chip ice cream. That night, among the swirling lights and laughter, she and I danced, a little tipsy from the open bar, and found ourselves kissing on the dance floor. Everyone around us cheered, raising their glasses in approval. The bride winked at me. The groom made a mock thumbs up. Kelly's cheeks had glowed under the golden light of the reception hall. When we parted ways that evening, we hadn't exchanged numbers. I assumed I would never hear from her again, but a week later I got a text. Kelly had gotten my number from our mutual friend. "Would you like to grab coffee sometime?" her message read. With zero hesitation, I said yes. One date turned into two, and soon enough, we were inseparable. We were young and carefree, going to late-night diners, trying random cooking experiments in her cramped kitchen, planning spontaneous weekend road trips. Within a couple of years, I was on one knee in the middle of a botanical garden, heart hammering in my chest, ring extended, asking her to marry me. She said yes in front of a handful of gawking tourists, and we became engaged. Less than a year after that, we stood before family and friends, exchanging vows. I honestly believed everything was perfect. For a while it was. The first year of marriage was full of playful banter, brand new experiences, and talk about possibly starting a family down the line. Looking back, I was so completely naive. Around the time our 1 year anniversary approached, I sensed the first cracks forming in our relationship. Kelly grew elusive. She'd keep her phone face down, hush calls abruptly if I walked into the room, or claim girls' night out multiple times a week. The intimacy that once flourished between us dwindled to almost nothing. When I tried to discuss my concerns, she brushed them aside. "Mark, you're overreacting," she would say, arms folded in front of her. "It's normal to want time with my friends. Don't be so insecure." I tried to accept this explanation, but something in her tone, the way her eyes avoided mine, made me uneasy. My mind soared with suspicions, but I had no real proof. We would argue only for her to roll her eyes and walk away, telling me I was imagining things. I felt my stomach knot every time she went out. Sometimes I even hoped I was just paranoid. Still, there was a growing void in our marriage. The emotional distance was one thing, but what truly alarmed me was the near total disappearance of physical affection. No quick kisses before work, no late-night cuddles. Even the simplest affectionate gestures, like grazing my hand across her shoulder, were shrugged off. I remember sitting in my office one night after she had gone to bed, reading story after story about cheating on the internet. So many had the same outline: withdrawn spouse, secretive phone habits, more nights out. My heart pounded because it all seemed too familiar. Yet whenever I checked her phone, on the few occasions she left it lying around, I'd find nothing. She must have been careful. I guessed if she was up to something, she would have found ways to hide it. But then, out of desperation, I remembered people talking about a second phone in these online anecdotes. A chill crawled up my spine. I waited until she fell asleep and slipped into the garage. The interior of her car smelled faintly of her floral perfume and an air freshener clipped to the vent. There, in the center console, was a cheap burner phone. The lock screen had just one contact, a single phone number with no name attached. I stared at it with trembling hands, half of me in denial, half of me seething with anger at the betrayal. I took pictures of the phone, the text logs, everything. When I connected that phone to my computer and saw the messages, I realized not only was she cheating, but this had been going on for at least a year. The photos they shared, the explicit messages, the secrets, my eyes burned as I scrolled. Kelly, the woman I had promised to love and cherish, the woman who had promised the same to me, was flirting and sending intimate pictures to the last person I would have suspected. Jay, a supposed friend, someone we had both known from weddings and social gatherings. I felt physically ill. Hands shaking, I printed every message, every image, everything that proved her infidelity. Then I found myself searching for local divorce attorneys at 3 in the morning, ignoring the tears of rage burning in my eyes. I should have confronted her right then. Instead, I spent that night in my home office, pacing in the dark, reading and rereading every vile detail of her affair. My mind raced. Was I not good enough? Did I do something wrong? Then an even uglier part of me emerged. I wanted revenge. The next day, I made an appointment with an attorney, a no-nonsense lawyer named Mr. Bryant. He looked over the evidence quietly, then folded his hands. "You've done the right thing by collecting this," he said. "We're in an at-fault state. You have significant leverage here. She's clearly committed adultery." I forced a bitter laugh. "I'm not even worried about the money," I told him. "I just want her out of my life." He nodded. "I understand, but it'll help you finalize things quickly. Let's keep records of everything, screenshots, call logs, and going forward, do not respond emotionally. If she tries to provoke you, keep your composure. This can get messy, so let me do the talking." That evening, I came home filled with adrenaline. I didn't see Kelly's car out front, so I poured myself a glass of water and waited in the living room. When she finally came back, it was nearly 11 p.m. She walked in, saw my unblinking stare, and set her purse on the table. "Mark?" she said, looking uneasy. "Why are you sitting in the dark?" I flicked on the lamp, casting a harsh beam of light that made her squint. "Where were you?" I asked tersely. "Another girls' night?" She hesitated. Yes, with Veronica. You can call her if you want to check." I simply rose to my feet, walked to my office, and came back holding a thick stack of printed conversations. "Are these from girls' night, too?" I demanded, tossing the papers onto the coffee table in front of her. Kelly's face paled. She flipped through a few pages, lips parted in shock. Where did you get these?" "I found your burner phone," I replied through clenched teeth. "The one in your car. I know about Jay, about the photos you've been sending, the secret phone calls. Stop lying to me." Her features contorted and she burst into tears. "I can explain," she began, voice trembling. But I wasn't having it. "Explain?" I nearly laughed, though tears were burning in the corners of my own eyes. "Explain a year of betrayal. Before we were even married? You were at it with him behind my back, sneaking around at... God, I don't even know where. Hotel rooms probably, parking lots. Anywhere you thought you wouldn't get caught." Kelly tried to reach for my hand. "Please," she whispered. "It was a mistake. I love you." I recoiled. "Don't you dare say that," I spat. "Anything you had to say you could have said before climbing into bed with Jay." She sank to her knees, sobbing. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she insisted, voice muffled by her own tears. "It just happened." I stared at her. "Pack a bag," I said icily. "You are leaving tonight. I've already started the divorce proceedings." The color drained from her face, and she let out a strangled cry. "Wait, Mark, can't we at least talk about it? I'll do counseling, whatever you want." My chest felt tight, and I forced myself to remain stone-faced. "Get out. I have a lawyer, and you'll be hearing from him soon." For a few days after she left, she texted, called, tried to coax me to talk. I refused. My lawyer told me not to block her, but to save everything she sent as potential evidence. Then I discovered something else. While she had left the majority of her personal belongings behind, rummaging through a closet, I found a diary with its battered pink cover. I didn't even mean to read it at first, but my curiosity got the better of me. In it, on some worn page, I found words that made my stomach lurch. "I've always been dreaming of a slightly bigger Johnson than my husband's. I can't promise myself I wouldn't try it one day. I married too young." I reread that line, a cold sweat creeping across my forehead. So this was how she saw me? Some placeholder until she found her real thrill? My blood boiled. All illusions I'd ever had of her feeling remorse shattered in that instant. I had no regrets about expediting her exit from my life, but part of me wanted to do more, show Jay, that I wasn't just some pathetic simp who would roll over and accept their betrayal. I wanted them to tremble, to realize the magnitude of their disrespect. A week later, while finalizing divorce paperwork, something inside me snapped. I learned from a mutual friend that Jay and Kelly were still sneaking around, parking their cars in side lots, presumably hooking up in cheap motels or in the back of Jay's SUV. The mere thought of them celebrating their affair while I suffered alone in the house we once shared, my house, set my teeth on edge. I decided I would confront them, not at my home, but in a place they'd least expect. First, I saw my lawyer to have all the necessary documents updated. He printed out a list of demands, potential settlement options, everything I might need if I planned to shove these in her face mid-confrontation. I told him I was just being thorough about any possibility. He eyed me warily. "Mark," he said, "are you planning something drastic?" I shrugged. "No, but if I happen to run into them, I want to be prepared." Secretly, though, I had a plan. I bought a small handheld camera, the kind vloggers use, so I could record them if I found them in flagrante. I also, in my twisted anger, purchased a bottle of methylene blue, the bright, staining liquid. I'd read about pranks online, how easily it dyed skin or clothing. This was going to be my petty revenge if I caught them together. That same evening, I drove around the places I suspected they might meet. Sides of empty parking lots near certain bars or small restaurants. Just as I was about to give up, I spotted Kelly's sedan in a dimly lit corner behind a chain pizza restaurant. Jay's SUV was parked 2 spots over. My heart hammered. I parked across the lot, far enough to keep out of sight, rummaging around until I felt the smooth plastic of the methylene blue bottle. With my camera in my other hand, I stepped out of my car, quietly crossing the tarmac. Sure enough, as I approached, I heard laughter and hushed voices from inside Jay's SUV. The windows were tinted. I lifted my camera, hit record, and pointed it at the car as I approached from the passenger side. Kelly was in the passenger seat, hair disheveled, and Jay was leaning over the console, their faces close, laughing like star-crossed lovers on a secret date. My stomach churned. I rapped on the window. Jay jolted. "What the?" Kelly shrieked. He fumbled to open the door, but in his frantic state, it took him a moment to unlock it. The door swung open, and they both stared at me. "Mark!" Kelly gasped, face draining of color. "What are you doing here?" "What am I doing here?" I said with a dark, quiet anger. "I'm filming you, Kelly. That's what I'm doing. Smile for the camera." I aimed the lens at their stunned expressions. Jay tried to bat the camera away. "Stop filming," he growled, stepping out of the car. "This is illegal." "Illegal?" I shot back. "You cheating with my wife is illegal where it matters, buddy. She's still legally married to me." "Mark, please just calm down," Kelly pleaded, opening the passenger door all the way. She looked mortified. "We can talk about this." I sneered, took a step back, and pulled out the methylene blue. Before Jay realized what I was doing, I popped the cap and splashed it across his chest, filming the entire thing. The bright blue liquid drenched his shirt, some spattering on his neck and arms. Jay recoiled, eyes wide. "What the hell?" he shouted, looking down at the unsightly stains. "You psycho!" I kept the camera trained on him as Kelly scrambled out of the car. "Oh my God, Mark!" She tried to reach for me, but I sidestepped. "You want to make me the fool?" I spat. "Let's see how you like being dyed blue like the cheap knockoff Smurf that you are." Jay's eyes flashed with fury. He lunged for me, fist swinging. I stumbled back, blocking his first blow with my forearm. The camera jostled in my hand. Kelly shrieked, hair flying as she tried to get in between us. Suddenly, I found myself grappling with Jay. He managed to knock the camera out of my hand, sending it skittering across the pavement. My heart thundered, adrenaline spiking. I felt a bruising ache in my ribs where he'd landed a punch. With his shirt dripping methylene blue and Kelly screaming for us to stop, I realized I needed to get the police involved, pronto, before I turned from vigilante into a battered victim on the ground. I twisted free of Jay's grip, stepping back out of his range. "That's assault!" I yelled. "I'm calling the cops!" He snorted. "You assaulted me first with that stuff." "That's a petty prank," I retorted, already dialing 911. "You're the one throwing punches, buddy." Kelly was hyperventilating. "Please, both of you, just stop!" I ignored her. On the line, I gave the operator my location, explaining a man had physically attacked me. Jay glared at me, chest heaving, shirt stained, fists still clenched. Soon, flashing red and blue lights illuminated the parking lot. 2 police cruisers pulled up and officers stepped out. "He assaulted me," Jay roared, pointing his finger. "Look at me." "Yes, I poured something on him," I said, chest still pounding. "But he came at me with his fists. I have it all on film, or at least part of it." One of the officers asked me to retrieve my camera. I found it by the curb where it had fallen. Kelly stood off to the side, tears streaking her cheeks, looking like a cornered criminal. When we reviewed the footage, it was painfully clear. Yes, I had provoked him, but I had not thrown a single punch. He attacked me physically. My bright blue prank was humiliating, but not physically dangerous. The officer on the scene glanced between the camera footage and Jay's furious expression. "Sir," he said to Jay, "I'm placing you under arrest for assault." Jay started to protest. "Wait, that's not fair. Look at what he did to me." The officer looked unimpressed. "Your shirt and your wounded pride aren't grounds for assault. You can take it up with the judge if you like, but right now, you're coming with us." As they handcuffed Jay, he spewed curses my way. Kelly tried to talk to me, but I turned my back, ignoring every word she said. My heart was still racing from the fight, but a grim satisfaction settled over me. One more blow to his ego. One step closer to me, showing them both that I was not the naive, gullible husband they thought they could dupe indefinitely. Later that night, after a lengthy session at the police station giving my statement, I drove home. I was physically exhausted and emotionally spent. My phone buzzed. It was Kelly's mother calling. A wave of bitterness swept through me. I didn't want to speak to her, but curiosity about her reaction overcame me. I answered, voice hoarse. "Yeah?" "Mark," her voice rang in my ear. "What on earth is going on? Kelly just called me in tears. She said you had Jay arrested." I scoffed. "She didn't tell you the full story, I'm sure. He assaulted me after I caught them in the act. And I mean literally caught them, in a parking lot." Her mother's voice trembled with anger. "How dare you escalate things like that? My daughter told me you set him up, dumped some kind of dye on him, and filmed it like a madman." I took a slow breath, fighting the urge to yell. "Yes, I poured methylene blue on him. It was a stupid, petty move on my part. But guess what? He physically attacked me. And now he's the one who's been arrested because of his violent response." She practically hissed over the line. "She's your wife. You drove her to cheat by being neglectful and paranoid. You can't treat her like a prisoner, Mark. This is your fault." That last line triggered the deep resentment I'd been holding back for years. Her mother had often tried to butt into our marriage, asserting Kelly could do no wrong. "My fault?" I repeated, voice dangerously quiet. "Let me be crystal clear. I gave your daughter a home. I gave her my heart and loyalty. I accepted her intrusive parents and all the ways you tried to micromanage our marriage. And this is how she repays me, by sleeping with a trusted friend, by humiliating me behind my back for over a year. So don't call me blaming me for her decisions." Her mother sniffled with indignation. "She was unhappy. Maybe if you had listened to her more, been there for her more." I cut her off, my patience gone. If she was unhappy, she could have told me, divorced me, left me. Cheating was a coward's way out. If you think I'm going to let her blame me for her betrayal, you're as delusional as she is. She started yelling again, but I hung up before she could continue. My hands shook with a toxic blend of rage and heartbreak. So even now, Kelly was spinning the story so I'd come out as the villain? Well, two could play that game, but I preferred the truth. I let out a bitter laugh in the stillness of my living room and silently thanked the fact that I was one step away from cutting her out permanently. That night, I returned to the diary entries. Although I'd already found the line that boiled my blood, I felt compelled to see if there was more. Pages included random entries about nights when she was bored with me, nights when we were intimate, but she complained to herself about the lack of excitement. The jabs about marrying too young were scattered throughout. She wasn't sure she would be able to resist if she found someone bigger, more thrilling, more spontaneous. In every line, I could see how her mind worked. She wanted a fleeting thrill, an upgrade from the ordinary stable life I offered. The cruelty in those words reminded me this was not the same sweet, fun-loving woman I'd married. Or maybe I had never truly known her at all. I sealed the diary in a plastic bag, labeled it as evidence, and placed it in a locked cabinet. My lawyer might be interested in her own words if she tried to claim emotional distress or spin some lack of intimacy narrative in court. Despite my initial embarrassment, I decided to let everyone relevant know the truth, our close mutual friends, my father, even Jay's fiancée, who I discovered was unaware up until I showed her. She had physically thrown him out of their own home. When I visited her for coffee, she was shaky, tears brimming in her eyes. "How long?" she whispered, voice quivering. "How long has he been cheating on me with your wife?" I sighed, sliding the printed messages to her. "It looks like at least a year, probably longer." She flipped through them. "I was going to marry him," she muttered, voice hollow. "And he'd been doing this to me the whole time." "Yes," I said softly. "I'm sorry." "Why are you apologizing?" she asked, tears finally sliding down her cheeks. "It's not your fault." I just shrugged. "I know how heartbreak feels. Even though I'm furious at them both, I can't help but feel sorry for you." She wiped her cheeks. "Thank you for being honest. My family wants me to forgive him, but I don't think I can. Not after this." She looked up, searching my face for reassurance. I placed a gentle hand on hers. "Follow your gut," I said. I tried to imagine a scenario where I'd forgive Kelly, but I can't. The betrayal is too big, too deep. She nodded. We parted ways, each of us battered but forging ahead to do what needed to be done. My own father was incensed when he heard about the confrontation in the parking lot, less because of what I did, and more because I risked bodily harm. "You can't just walk into a scenario like that without expecting a fight," he warned. "Proud of you for standing up for yourself, but be careful. People do stupid things when cornered." I tried to laugh it off, though the bruises on my ribcage still hurt. "Dad, it's under control. Jay's the one facing assault charges, not me." He eyed me sternly. "This anger in you? It's poison. Don't let it consume you. You did your filming. You got him arrested. Enough. Let your lawyer handle the rest." Maybe he was right, but there was still a gleeful satisfaction in knowing Jay had spent a night or two in jail, covered in humiliating splotches of blue. The revenge might have been petty, but it tasted sweet after the humiliation they had forced on me. A few weeks later, everything escalated to the legal front. My lawyer and I had assembled an overwhelming portfolio of evidence: printouts of text messages, photos from the burner phone, images of their meetups, plus an itemized statement about the assault. Kelly, likely under some misguided impression that she could wring money out of me, officially lawyered up too, which meant we could proceed to official negotiations. She tried calling me multiple times, presumably to talk about it, but I never answered. All her voicemails, some tearful, some furious, went straight to my lawyer. He told me, "You're doing everything right. This is textbook. I wish more clients followed instructions as meticulously." In the meantime, I packed her belongings into boxes. I found random photos of our wedding stuffed in a drawer. My stomach flipped. The bright, beaming grin on her face, the proud look on mine. It looked like a completely different lifetime. I stacked them in a box labeled wedding junk, figuring she might want them, though I couldn't imagine why. One evening, while sorting through the bedroom closet, I found the tattered guest book from our wedding. Flipping through the pages, I spotted the signatures of all those who had attended, including Jay's. He'd written, "Congrats to both of you. Wishing you eternal love and happiness." The irony sparked a wave of rage. Without thinking, I tore his note out of the book and shredded it. I tossed it in a trash bag, chest heaving. Kelly's mother kept calling and texting me, telling me Kelly was in emotional turmoil. She left voice messages. "You promised to love her in sickness and in health, Mark. You can't abandon her just because of a mistake. If you push this, you'll regret it. She's still your wife." One afternoon, fed up, I texted back, "She can cry me a river for all I care. She betrayed me. There's no coming back from that. I owe her nothing." That was the last I heard from her mother for a while. Eventually, our attorneys scheduled a preliminary hearing to address property, finances, and the details of the divorce. My lawyer and I arrived at the courthouse early. I wore a dark suit, my eyes set forward, ignoring the lingering stares from people waiting for their own cases. Kelly arrived minutes later, hand clenched around a tissue. She looked disheveled, face puffy, as though she'd been crying for days. My lawyer shot me a warning look. "Stay calm." The hearing was brief, basically a chance for both sides to present evidence before a judge. Kelly's lawyer tried to propose that I was controlling, that she only cheated because I was emotionally distant. My lawyer promptly unveiled the entire compendium of text logs, pictures, and hotel receipts we'd uncovered. The judge leafed through them, expression rigid. Then came the discussion of assets. The judge noted that our state's at-fault divorce laws favored the betrayed spouse. "Given Mr. Curtis's evidence," said the judge, peering over wire-rimmed glasses, "we find the adulterous conduct here significantly impacts property distribution. Therefore, Miss Curtis is likely not entitled to spousal support or a large share of marital assets." Kelly's face paled. "What?" she whispered, voice quivering. "Your Honor, Her lawyer attempted damage control. "We'd like to request a recess," he said, "to discuss potential settlement with Mr. Curtis and his counsel." But the judge shook her head. "I'm inclined to proceed. The evidence is quite clear. Infidelity preceded and continued into the marriage." She looked at Kelly. "Ma'am, you are not in a strong position here." Kelly stood up, tears streaming. "Your Honor," she pleaded, I've lost everything. I have nowhere to go. I made a mistake, but I still have feelings for my husband. He can't just throw me out like this." I stared straight ahead, not meeting her desperate gaze. The judge's tone was sympathetic but firm. "Your living arrangements are not for this court to decide in that sense. We are here to determine equitable distribution and finalize the dissolution of marriage. Your actions have consequences." Kelly's tears soon shifted into anger. "How can you do this to me, Mark?" she shouted across the table, heedless of protocol. Her own lawyer tried to hush her. "I gave you the best years of my life." I clenched my jaw. "You gave me a shattered vow and a backstabbing affair. That's what you gave me." She slammed her hands on the table, face twisted. "You set me up. You were always paranoid and suspicious, making me feel like I wasn't good enough. Then you recorded me in a parking lot. You dyed Jay with that ridiculous blue stuff just to humiliate him. You turned into a monster." The bailiff edged closer, ready to intervene. My lawyer touched my elbow. "Don't rise to her bait." I stared calmly at Kelly. "Maybe I am a monster," I said in a low voice. "But it was your betrayal that created one. I won't be a doormat for you or for anyone else." She let out a guttural sob, tears mixing with mascara. "It didn't mean anything," she wailed. "Jay was just, I don't know, an outlet, a fling. It was an adrenaline rush. And I'm supposed to reward that with half my assets?" I countered, voice like steel. She collapsed back into her seat, trembling. Her outburst was too little, too late. The judge cleared her throat. "We'll finalize decisions at the next hearing, but I see no grounds to dispute Mr. Curtis's claim here. Miss Curtis, I advise you to talk to your lawyer about realistic expectations." Kelly's meltdown in court was everything I needed to confirm. Even when forced to face her actions, she'd try to twist the blame to me or wave away her wrongdoing as a mistake. But a year of lying and scheming is not a single slip-up. The mask had fallen, revealing the person she'd become, or maybe had always been. Outside the courtroom, we had to wait in the lobby for some documents. Kelly came up to me again, ignoring her attorney's pleas to keep quiet. "How can you do this?" she hissed. "You know me better than anyone. You know I'm not a bad person." I looked at her, unflinching. "You're not a bad person? You lied for a year. You wanted a bigger thrill, maybe a bigger Johnson." I deliberately used her diary's phrasing. She recoiled. "I read your diary, Kelly. Don't pretend you don't know what I'm referring to." She paled. "You had no right." "You wrote it," I snapped, "and left it in my house. You basically admitted you never respected me enough to stay faithful if someone new caught your eye." She stammered, "I was just venting. I didn't mean half of it. You're blowing everything out of proportion." "This is done," I said, cutting her off. "We can finalize the divorce and never speak again." She tried to grab my hand, tears trickling down. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I don't know what else to say." I stepped away from her, my voice sharp. "You can say it to my lawyer." Her mother and father emerged from around the corner, glaring at me. Kelly's mother, eyes narrowed, muttered under her breath, "You'll regret this, Mark. She's your wife. Marriage vows are sacred." "Sacred?" I echoed bitterly. "She broke those vows first." Her father, who had barely spoken a word to me during the entire fiasco, put a hand on his wife's shoulder, pulling her back. "Let's go. We're done here," Kelly sniffled, letting them usher her away. I exhaled, shoulders slumping. My lawyer handed me a pen to sign a brief set of documents. Then I walked out of the courthouse, a free man in spirit, if not entirely free on paper yet. In the days that followed, I moved everything Kelly had left behind, her clothes, her personal items, into a storage pod. I wanted nothing of hers in the house anymore. Each time I found some artifact of our shared life, a wedding invitation or a love note, I felt that old wound throb. But I had made my decision. I was done letting her memory haunt me. My father advised me to change the locks once the divorce was official. According to my lawyer, I technically had the right to do so even sooner, but part of me didn't want to stoop to paranoia. Then I remembered her meltdown in the parking lot, her mother's threats, and I decided not to take any more chances. I hired a locksmith to install new deadbolts. My lawyer called a few days later with an update. Kelly's side had come to terms. They realized going to trial would only bury her further. We scheduled a final meeting in the conference room at a neutral law office. At the divorce meeting, Kelly looked drained, eyes red, hands trembling. My lawyer laid the agreement down. 50% of the house proceeds, 30% of joint savings, no spousal support due to at-fault adultery. She barely glanced at the terms, Is there no way? She whispered. No, I said, signing. She signed too. Done. As I stood to leave, her chair screeched back. In a flash, she dropped to her knees in front of me, grabbing my legs with both arms. Please, Mark, she sobbed. Don't do this. I'll never even look at another man again. I'll obey you fully. Just don't leave me. Her mascara streaked down her face. I'll cook, clean, stay home. You can check my phone, my emails. I'll be yours completely. I froze. My lawyer stood still. Her attorney looked away. You humiliated me, I choked out. In our home, with someone I trusted. I was lost. I was stupid, she cried. But I see it now. You're the only one I want. Please, I'll change. I swear. I pried her hands off my legs. It's too late, Kelly. She clung harder. You can mold me into whoever you want. I'll be better. You had your chance, I said. Now get up. The court date's set for final decree in 30 days. Let it go. She broke, screaming my name as I walked out, shattered but free.